Hi, this is Lee with Learning with Lee. We are working on our war game, getting close to the end. I'm gonna hit um, draw. Last time we had a tie and put down 3 cards with their backs facing up. So today we need to put down that 4th card facing up. And this is what we're gonna have to do next week. We're running until we got to 0 cards. And if you get to 0 cards, the game should be over, and someone wins. So that'll be, I think, our last thing that we need to do for the game. Let's see if I did limit the number of cards. You'll see there's no face cards, just so it would tie more frequently. So there it goes. So it went, put down 3 cards, and then it put down a 4th card, and player 2 won, and they got all those cards. So that's what we're doing today. So how did I do this? This is what I did just for testing purposes. This is normally 14 for ace through king. So less than that, there's 13 cards. And then, so I just made it 6. So it would tie more frequently, but not tie all the time, and so that it would have enough cards so you could put down, because it's a lot of cards. You have to put 1 down and it's a tie, so that's 2 cards. Then you put 3 down, that's 6 more cards. And then you put another 1 down, that's 2 more cards. So you need to make sure there's enough cards so you don't run out, because it won't know what to do when it runs out of cards. So I found 6 was a good number to put there. Okay, so this is all the same. None of that's changed. Okay, now here is what's different. Let's go down. We had all of this stuff that you're seeing that I'm just going through. We had all of that in the function called draw. When you click on draw, do all this stuff. Now I took it all out and made a function called assign. So assigning the cards, assigning the values to the cards. And I'll tell you why. Because when I got down to it, when there was a tie, then it put down cards, but then what I wanted it to do was do assign all over again. I wanted to pick up the next card, I wanted it to show the cards, and then I wanted it to check all over again to see, because it could be another tie. So that's called a recursive function. Like it would have to run the function again. Like start back over at the top and put up a new card and check it. And you want to avoid that. There are ways to do recursive functions, but when you think about it, there's a danger of just looping continuously. It's calling itself over and over again, crashing your browser. If you can, you want to avoid what's called a recursive function. You can look that up if you want to learn about it. So I wanted to separate things so I could call everything separately. So, you just kind of walk through what happens, and you just, say it to yourself in English, like what's happening, and follow the path of your code. So they click on draw, and it goes and assigns the card. When you're listing your code, you want the things, like this is calling war, so you want war defined ahead of it. Now this doesn't happen until you click on it, so the code's already run through. It's not going to be confused like, what is assign? It's already read that function. It's up above, and because it's not happening until you click on it, then it doesn't cause an issue. But you want to put things in order, otherwise it's going to say, what is that? And on that note, when I pulled out the different things from the draw function, I just went ahead and labeled them up here. I defined these variables, just made them in existence. When they're up here, it's called a global variable, not because they're up at the top of the page, but they're outside any function. And then that way they're just available to all of your functions to work. When you define a variable within a function, then it just exists in that function, which was fine when we had everything within draw. But now I have an assign function, I have a war function, I have like I think I called it greater function, checking to see who's the winner. So I just want to make sure these variables are understood by all the functions. So I just defined them up there, making them global variables, just so I wouldn't run into trouble with, it's saying, what's that? Never heard of that before. So function of assign, this is not new code, except for this one thing I'll show you. It's just copy and pasted from draw. I just put it up here. And the one thing I had to do was put the suit CSS to display black, because when we made the backs of the cards show up, we wrote display none to hide the suits so they wouldn't write on the page or write on that card section. And when we displayed the backs, and then it just stays that way. Like once you tell it that, it's just going to stay that way until you put it back. So there's no harm in just having it whenever. I just put it here and assign because that's when they're going to write the suit on the page. So just make sure the suit is showing. And then all this is exactly the same. So what's happening? We assign the number, we write the number on the page, we assign the suit, we figure out what picture goes with the suit. We put a picture at the number on the page. If it's supposed to be a face card, we write the picture on the page. We do that for card 1 and card 2. And we take those cards out of the player's hands here and put them into the, put them on the table. It's in the played cards deck. And then I call greater. It's what I call my function for checking who wins. This writing to the console, I like to do this like here, right inside the function. Like I just wrote war, and it'll write on my little inspect element thing, right to the console war. And then I know that the war function was called, just so you can follow the path of your code, where it's going, if things aren't going right. It's good to do that. So, but I'm not going to war next. Just because I hear it doesn't mean it runs next. It's calling greater. So we have to find greater. All right, greater. So this is just the same as that code, copy and pasted from draw. Who wins? And I went ahead and put, because this code was at the very end after they got out of draw, I just wanted to put it in a function somewhere. So this seemed like a good place for it. Once the cards are given to the first player, then we write in how many cards they have, and then we empty out played cards. Okay, so I have that for player 2 here. If we give player 2 all the cards on the table, then we add those. We just write on the page how many cards they have now in their array, and we empty out the played cards, what's on the deck. Now if they're equal, this is all the same code, just paste it down here. Then this is all emptied out now. We just call war, call the function war. Because war wants to check to see who wins. So, I'm trying to separate them out so we're not going in a circle within ourselves. So war, this should all be the same code. Put down 3 cards with the back showing. Make those sounds. And then we wanted a 4th card to go down. And we want it to be not instant, right? We want it to come later. So I added a longer time frame, just the equal distant time frame there. And I call the assign thing and I play the sound. So it's assigning, so it calls assign. So I had to separate them from each other so we could call assign again. What does assign do? It just takes the next card, writes it on the page, and it calls greater, and then greater checks who wins, and it could be another tie, and then it would just keep going in that fashion, but it moves through itself. And so it ends it ends at greater. If one of them is greater than the other, then it would not call another function. It would stop doing things at that point, and you have to click draw again to start it over again. So that's the code. You can read this lesson. I don't have all the code written out, and try and figure out and see if you can get it to work. Remember, if you try it and it just doesn't seem to work at all, don't just delete it all. It doesn't mean everything's wrong. You just problem solve one at a time. Use inspect element. Use inspect element. Use the console. Write yourself notes in the code so you can follow along and see where it's going, see what errors it's saying, and see if you can get that working. And And then hopefully next time we will finish off the code and then we'll get it online and all that good stuff. All right, see you next lesson.